April 9, 2005. Windsor, England. One of the most anticipated royal events in decades was finally happening. Prince Charles, the heir to the British throne, a man who had waited longer for the crown than any prince in history, was getting married. And his mother, the Queen of England, was not in the room. Not because she was ill, not because she was traveling. She was, in fact, just a few streets away. Later that same day, she would host the wedding reception at Windsor Castle, pour the champagne, give a speech, and publicly wish the couple well in front of 700 guests. But when her son stood before the registrar and said his vows, her seat was empty. This is the story of that empty seat, and everything it tells us about what it truly costs to be, at the same time, a mother and a crown. The wedding almost didn't happen on April 9th at all. It had originally been planned for April 8th, but on the evening of April 1st, Pope John Paul II passed away in Rome. His funeral was set for April 8th, the exact same day as the royal wedding. Charles, as heir to the throne, was expected to represent Britain at the papal ceremony. The wedding was pushed back by one day. Think about that for a moment. One of the most closely watched royal weddings of the modern era had to be rescheduled around a pope's death. It was in many ways a sign of what the entire day would feel like, not a celebration that unfolded smoothly, but one that had to be carefully steered around everything that stood in its way. The ceremony itself was unusually small. 28 guests. A civil registrar. Windsor Guildhall, an elegant building, but not a palace, not a chapel, and not the setting anyone had once imagined for the future king's second wedding. Both Charles and Camilla had been previously divorced. That single fact made a Church of England ceremony impossible. The Church had only begun permitting divorcees to remarry in 2002, and even then, individual clergy retained the right to refuse. A civil ceremony was the only path forward. And it was that one detail, the civil nature of the service, that kept the Queen's seat empty. She had told a friend that week, plainly, "I am not able to go. I do not feel that my position permits it." A senior palace official confirmed the reasoning to reporters at the time. "The civil nature of the service is the issue," they said. She did not feel it was appropriate to attend. Not the venue, not the bride. The type of ceremony. As Supreme Governor of the Church of England, a role she had carried since her coronation in 1953, she could not take her place at a civil marriage service for two divorced people, not even when one of them was her son. Royal biographer Jonathan Dimbleby, who had unparalleled access to Charles, wrote that the prince would have liked the Queen to be there. But she had been, in Dimbleby's words, absolutely adamant. Not hostile, not cold, simply immovable. There was, of course, another layer to all of this, because this was not just any royal wedding. It was the wedding of a man who had once been married to Princess Diana, the most beloved royal figure of her generation, who had died in a Paris tunnel 8 years earlier, and whose memory still hung over everything. Camilla Parker Bowles had been, for decades, the third person in Charles and Diana's marriage. Diana herself had spoken about it publicly. Public feeling toward Camilla in 2005 was, to put it carefully, complicated. And one detail in the wedding arrangements acknowledged all of that, without ever saying a word directly. Camilla did not take the title Princess of Wales. Technically, as the wife of the Prince of Wales, it was hers by right. But the decision was made, quietly, deliberately, that she would instead be known as the Duchess of Cornwall. The title Diana had once carried was left, untouched, in the past. A small thing, officially, but one that said everything about how carefully this day had been built around the feelings it might otherwise have broken. The official position was unambiguous. The Queen was absent because of her constitutional role, and she bore the couple no ill will. That was the palace's line, and by all credible accounts, it was largely true. But the fuller picture was, as it so often is with this family, more layered. Royal biographer Robert Lacey reported, citing historical sources, that the Queen had at one point referred to Camilla as that wicked woman, and that for years she had refused to allow Camilla's name to be spoken in her presence. These accounts come from single sources and deserve to be handled carefully. but they sit alongside a documented fact. It was not until 2002, 3 years before the wedding, that the Queen first agreed to be in the same room as Camilla at the Golden Jubilee celebrations. The relationship between them had thawed over years. Slowly, through what appears to have been a combination of Charles's persistence and his mother's pragmatism. By 2005, she was prepared to support the marriage. But support and enthusiasm are not the same thing, and an empty seat, whatever the official explanation, tends to carry a meaning of its own. What happened later that afternoon told a different story. After the civil ceremony and a blessing at St. George's Chapel, which the Queen did attend, Windsor Castle opened for a reception that was, by all accounts, generous and warm. 700 guests. The Queen spoke. She hadn't needed to, no one had expected a speech. But she stood up, in what biographer Robert Hardman described, her informal way of showing approval and marking the occasion. She made her position clear. She wished them well. She offered her support. And in February 2022, in the final year of her life, she went further still, publicly stating that it was her sincere wish that, when the time came, Camilla would be known as Queen Consort. The woman who had once been barred from royal occasions was, in the end, publicly endorsed by the Queen herself. So what do we make of that empty seat? The Queen was not against the marriage. She was not punishing her son. She was doing what she had always done, placing the obligations of the crown ahead of the preferences of the family. The same logic that had kept her from ever abdicating. The same logic that had shaped every major decision of a 70-year reign. It appeared again on April 9, 2005, in a small room in Windsor. Her son was getting married. She was a few streets away, and the institution she had sworn to serve in 1953 did not permit her to cross that distance. Some people call that duty. Others might see it as a particular kind of loss, quiet, unspoken, and very much in keeping with who she was. She arrived later. She gave the speech. She hosted the party. But the moment itself, the vows, the rings, the registrar's words, she was not there for any of it, because on the day her son got married for the second time, being queen came first. It always did.